What to do, homies? So I've made my way through this entire Backrooms playlist with the exception of which one was it? Found footage number 3. Then I was going to react to that, but I realized that he had dropped today. And in the playlist, this comes before found footage number 3. So I'm here nice and fresh. I do have a reaction to all of these right here. Like I said, so let's go ahead and shut up and turn it up and dive into this new with you guys. Lightning and Tile Survey. This is before, so this is, let me see, hold on, I forgot. Yeah, so this is 1989, so this is before the reveal, the first test, right? That was done in, or was that 80? Was it 90? Anyways.
November 14th?
They're already in there, so.
Tuesday?
It's been 80.
Yeah. It is incredibly cold. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I actually have a decent heating system down here. That'd be nice.
Yeah, these subtitles help.
Die of hypothermia. Oh, camera? Put your straps in the bin right now. Just make sure to get the red one, right? Because the green one reads. 10-4.
I forget that this is all mostly CG. Not all. Guess they trying to understand how the lighting works.
There's no insulation on top, and I'm seeing a bunch on the floor above. There's ventilation as well. You see that? You see the vents? Yeah, it goes around the top to the right. Yeah, some of it's insulated, I think. I don't know. I'm not a vent guy. I don't know. Oh, it looks no rust, I think.
You know, I saw a theory in my comments of people saying that the Backrooms is attempting to emulate real life, which would explain why some of the chairs that we saw in some of the earlier episodes were too, you know, weird. You know what I mean? Like some of the geography, which kind of looks like it was a pool, but it was like mixed with a sink or something like that. That is a very interesting theory. I always thought that, you know, since time and space stuff starts opening up, that these places, they just eventually get warped in there, and then maybe it just takes a shape of its own over time. But that theory is interesting.
Huh.
It's more than one floor, and I use that term loosely. We then attempted to cut power to the nearest fluorescent light fixture, a standard troffer. However, we were unable to isolate the power source, and the conduit remained live, despite the absence of any visible external power supply. The source of electrical current remains unknown at this time. Using an insulated toolkit, we carefully isolated the light fixture from its electrical conduit, extracted the troffer from the ceiling, and transported it back inside, back to standard for analysis. And they added a 0.5 meter sample of conduit was also taken with all exposed wiring safely secured afterwards in the ceiling. So the ceiling tile extracted measures 1.27 meters by 1.14 meters, which is certainly not standard, but it's composed primarily of mineral fiber. It seems normal in composition, has a fissured texture with mild tegular edges. So just after initial analysis, the composition of the tile estimated is around 60% mineral wool, which is fibers of amorphous silicate, usually derived from, I think it's basalt or slag, around 20% expanded perlite, which is primarily of silicon dioxide and aluminum oxide.
Shout out to Kane as well, because obviously, I'm gonna say obviously, I don't think that any of this, like this type of research, is common knowledge. So he probably had to do some research on his own, as well as enlist the help of people who are vent guys, you know what I mean, who kind of understands the composition and the inner workings of creating ceilings and moving and directing power. 'Cause I don't think it's common knowledge. Really, this is stuff you go to school and learn it unless you specialize in. And for all we know, Kane might be a specialized vent guy on top of everything else that he does. So I just like all the hard work that he kind of puts into this. The drawings,
primarily of silicon dioxide and aluminum oxide, and the rest is a undefined mixture of silicate material, some starch, latex polymers, and some organic fibers derived from plant materials, recycled cellulose, really. But the light troffer housing is made of galvanized steel coated with a thin layer of zinc. Inside, the fluorescent bulbs are non-standard in proportion, most closely resembling T12 bulbs. So the 4 bulbs measure 1.2 meters in length with a diameter of 38.1 millimeters. We're extrapolating here at 51, but that bulb and and the rest contain the following components: phosphor coating, the calcium hemiphosphate for converting ultraviolet light to visible light, mercury vapor in a small quantity which facilitates the ultraviolet light emission, argon gas, and again this is all standard for these fluorescent bulbs, but that's an inert gas that assists with regulating the current and really starting the bulbs. And
natural speech too.
Are connected via a G13 base, which is a standard 2-pin base with 13 millimeter spacing for electrical connection. So
it's interesting how often it kind of moves between standard and non-standard, right? I mean, the whole entire thing of Backrooms is a whole bunch of standard and non-standard. So I think the purpose of this video is obviously to give us some context and some information about how the lighting works, but also to further, expand on the universe that nothing in there is because this is lighting tell, like nothing in there is standard-ish. It's always something super weird, super just slightly out of place, which again makes me think, the Backrooms, like that theory I saw in my comment section, is trying to emulate real life. You get it wrong and you keep doing it before, and then it's right. So
the wiring connected to the fixture is PVC insulated copper, which appears standard again. The prismatic diffuser over the bulbs is made of polymethyl methacrylate.
I'm getting a lesson here.
Which is again commonly used for its light diffusion properties. I mean, it's what we have in the building here, very standard. But we also inspected the ballast, which is of the electromagnetic type. There's some variation in how they're being manufactured now. This one contains a laminated steel core and copper windings designed to operate at 60 hertz. So the ballast emits a prominent 120 hertz hum. This seems to be the case for the majority, if not all, of the lights in the complex that we've assessed thus far, mostly just through simple curing. But this is due to magnetostriction and core vibration. But the noise may be exacerbated by loose lamination plates or degradation of the insulating potting material over time. So it's definitely an indication that this has been running for a little bit. I mean, despite its age, the ballast is functional. Its large proportions suggest it was built for a non-standard space, not something you find in the majority of offices or most commercial spaces, though that's not something I'm too familiar with, truthfully. Now, we did find, so material compositions all seem expected, or we don't know what to expect here. They seem, everything we've looked at so far, again, this is rudimentary early testing, but everything seems pretty congruent with what you might expect from one of the troffer lights you could pull out of the ceiling in this building right here. So nothing too strange, but that maybe makes things even stranger, because we look at these lights and let me see. I'm taking it. So several labels were marked on various components of the troffer. still on the ballast, we found markings for mark it as a universal ballast, type A, manufactured in 1975 with serial number A75234X. The troffer itself is stamped 3X432, and that was manufactured in 1973 in Reading, Pennsylvania, and it is UL listed.
Different.
And the bulbs were manufactured by Sylvania, and they're marked F40SW, that's soft white, with no visible date information. It's left blank, but it is noted as made in the USA. So, I mean, though outdated in design, the fixture appears fully functional. The stable operation of all light fixtures in the subdivision points to a continuous, potentially autonomous power source, which still remains unidentified. We're doing what we can. The materials used are durable with minimal visible wear, suggesting they were built for long-term, possibly indefinite use. So this concludes the initial findings. Further investigation is necessary to determine the source of the power.
See, this is like one of them things where, right, we got all these numbers in here, and now I'm sitting here trying to think about how some of these numbers relate to all the other stuff that I've been consuming. Now, granted, I've been consuming this entire playlist in a very, very short time. It just maybe total a week and a half, right? So there might be some information that's fresh, might be some information that's still missing, but some of these numbers and everything probably relates to something else that's in there. And I'm probably going to dive into these comments. Oh, look at this, y'all. The lights have been manufactured in 1973. If you go to the video overflow, the project that kickstarted this whole thing was dated 8272. See, man, it's just stuff like this. I can't wait to have these conversations with you guys in the comments. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about this down in the comments. All right. Dave's out.